coffee tasted like motor oil mixed with regret, but I drank it anyway. That's what you do when you're 39, supervising a warehouse crew that treats safety meetings like stand-up comedy, and your wife has been acting like you've got the plague for 3 months straight. My name is Derrick Mallon, and if stupidity burned calories, I'd be a supermodel by now. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Hey boss, your wife called again? Chuck hollered from the loading dock, his voice echoing off the concrete walls like a bad joke bouncing around an empty room. Chuck had the kind of face that looked like it had been assembled from spare parts, but he was solid crew. Said something about picking up dry cleaning. Since when do you pick up dry cleaning? Since never, that's when. Taryn handled that stuff. Had for 15 years of marriage. But lately Taryn had been handling a lot of things differently. Marriage is like inventory management, I told Chuck, walking over to check the morning shipment manifest. If you don't keep track of what's coming and going, something valuable disappears. Chuck laughed. That's dark, even for you, Derrick. Dark? Brother, you haven't seen dark yet? The warehouse hummed with the usual morning chaos. Forklifts beeping, boxes sliding down conveyor belts. Priya from accounting gossiping loud enough to wake anyone. Priya knew everyone's business before they did. She was like a human surveillance system with a caffeine addiction. Did you hear about the Johnsons? Priya was saying to anyone within earshot. Caught him cheating with their neighbor. She put all his clothes on the front lawn and set them on fire. Fire department had to come out and everything. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Not because of the Johnsons. I barely knew them. But because for the past month, Taryn had been working late 3 nights a week. New project, she said. Big client presentation. Lots of coordination with the logistics team. Funny thing about logistics teams, they usually work during the day. My phone buzzed. Text from Taryn. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. 2 words that used to mean something, now just felt like punctuation at the end of a lie. Chuck, you ever notice when people start saying love you instead of I love you? It's like they're running out of batteries. What? Nothing, just thinking out loud. The thing about being married to someone for 15 years is you develop a radar for their bullshit. Taryn's radar had been pinging like a submarine in enemy waters for months. New perfume, something expensive I didn't recognize. Lingerie receipts in her purse when she thought I wasn't looking. Phone calls that ended abruptly when I walked into a room. But the real kicker, the gym membership. Taryn hadn't exercised since our honeymoon, unless you counted lifting wine glasses. Suddenly she's talking about getting back in shape and meeting some old friends for workout sessions. Old friends I'd never heard of. Derrick, you look like someone stole your lunch money, Priya said, appearing at my elbow with a clipboard and that knowing look she got when she smelled drama. Everything okay at home? Peachy. Why? Just asking. You know, if you ever need to talk. Priya was fishing, but I wasn't biting. Not yet. First rule of warehouse management. Verify your inventory before you report theft. The day crawled by like a wounded animal. Shipments came and went, paperwork got shuffled, and I tried to focus on normal things like delivery schedules and safety reports. But my brain kept circling back to Taryn's new habits, like a dog worrying a bone. Around 3 o'clock, my phone rang. Taryn. Hey babe, quick question. You remember Colt Rayner, right? From high school? Colt Rayner. The name hit me like a wrench to the gut. Yeah, I remembered Colt. Quarterback, class president, the kind of guy who peaked at 18 and spent the next 20 years trying to recreate his glory days. Also, Taryn's ex-boyfriend, the one she dated before me, the one she always said was such a sweet guy whenever his name came up. Yeah, I remember Colt. Why? He's working in logistics now, same company I'm coordinating with on this project. Small world, right? Anyway, we might need to have some evening meetings to get everything sorted out. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Evening meetings with her ex-boyfriend, who worked in logistics. That's convenient, I said. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, just that it's convenient. There was a pause. The kind of pause that feels like standing at the edge of a cliff. Derrick, you're not being weird about this, are you? It's just work. I'm not being weird about anything. Have your meetings. Okay, good. I'll probably be late tonight. Like really late. This project is intense. I bet it is. After she hung up, I sat in my office staring at the phone like it might explode. Colt Rayner. Of all the logistics companies in all the world, she had to coordinate with his. Chuck poked his head in. You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse, I think I've seen the future. That evening, I did something I'd never done in 15 years of marriage. I used the Find My Phone app to track Taryn's location. She wasn't at her office. She wasn't at any office. She was at the Riverside Apartments on Elm Street, Building C specifically. I knew those apartments. Decent place, nothing fancy. The kind of place a divorced logistics coordinator might rent after his wife took half his stuff. I sat in my truck across the street for 2 hours, watching the windows of Building C. At 9:47 p.m., I saw two silhouettes in a third-floor window. One was definitely Taryn. I'd recognize that profile anywhere. The other was broader, taller, male. They weren't looking at spreadsheets. I drove home and poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon. Then I sat at the kitchen table and started making a list. Not a grocery list or a honey-do list. A different kind of list entirely. See, here's the thing about warehouse work. It teaches you patience, planning, and the importance of proper inventory management. You learn to think systematically. You learn that the best way to move heavy objects isn't with brute force, but with the right leverage applied at the right time. You also learn that when someone steals from you, you document everything before you call security. Taryn came home at 11:30, smelling like cologne I didn't recognize and wearing that guilty smile she got when she'd done something she thought she'd gotten away with. How was your evening meeting? I asked from the kitchen table. She jumped like she'd been electrocuted. Jesus, Derrick? You scared me. What are you doing sitting in the dark? Just thinking. How was the meeting? Long. Boring. You know how these logistics things are. Actually, I don't. Why don't you tell me about it? She studied my face in the dim light from the hallway. Are you feeling okay? You're acting strange. I'm fine. Just interested in your work. This Colt guy, what's he like these days? I don't know. Professional. We didn't really talk about personal stuff. Liar. That's good, I said. Wouldn't want things to get complicated. Complicated how? You know, mixing business with pleasure, old feelings getting in the way of professional judgment, that sort of thing. She was quiet for a long moment. There are no old feelings, Derrick. It's just work. Of course it is. She went upstairs to shower, a long shower, like she was washing something off. I stayed at the kitchen table, adding items to my list and thinking about leverage. The next morning, Taryn was gone before I woke up. Early meeting, according to the note she left. More coordination required. I called in sick to work and spent the day doing research. Colt Rayner wasn't hard to find. Social media made stalking almost too easy. Divorced 2 years ago from a woman named Maya. No kids. Worked for Pinnacle Logistics downtown. Drove a restored 1987 Camaro he was very proud of, judging by the number of photos he'd posted. Maya Rayner was more interesting. Still used his last name, probably for professional reasons. Worked in commercial real estate. Had a sharp sense of humor based on her posts, and didn't seem bitter about the divorce. Just practical. I wondered if she knew her ex-husband was working late with married women. By the time Taryn came home that night, again after 11, I had a complete dossier on Colt Rayner and a plan that would have made Sun Tzu proud. How was work today, honey? She asked, kissing my cheek with lips that tasted like lies. Educational, I said. Very educational. She gave me a strange look, but didn't ask for details. Smart woman, my wife. Too bad she wasn't quite smart enough. The beautiful thing about being underestimated is that people don't see you coming until it's too late. I've been underestimated my whole life. In high school, I was the guy who fixed everyone's cars but never got invited to parties. In college, I was the one who helped classmates pass engineering courses they couldn't handle on their own. At work, I was the steady, reliable supervisor who kept everything running smoothly while flashier guys got promotions. Taryn used to say she loved that about me, my quiet competence. Apparently, what she really loved was my predictability. She thought she had me figured out. Thought I'd just sit there and take whatever she dished out like some pathetic doormat. She was about to learn the difference between quiet and stupid. Thursday morning, I did 3 things before my first cup of coffee. First, I transferred my entire paycheck to a new account Taryn didn't know about. Second, I canceled our weekend trip to Lake Tahoe, the one we'd been planning for months. Third, I called Jenna Morrison. Jenna was what you might call unfinished business. We dated for 2 years before I met Taryn, and it had ended amicably when she got a job offer in Portland. She'd moved back to town 6 months ago, divorced and working in property management. We'd run into each other at the grocery store a few weeks back, exchanged numbers, and promised to get coffee sometime to catch up. Derrick, this is a surprise. I was starting to think you'd forgotten about that coffee. Actually, I was wondering if you'd be interested in something a little more ambitious than coffee. How do you feel about Lake Tahoe this weekend? There was a pause. That's quite a jump from coffee. What's the occasion? Let's call it a celebration of new beginnings. Should I ask what kind of new beginnings? The kind where I stop being an idiot and start living my life. Another pause. Okay, I'm intrigued. But if this is some kind of midlife crisis thing, then, Jenna, I promise you, this is the opposite of a crisis. This is clarity. All right then, Lake Tahoe it is, but you're buying dinner. Deal. After I hung up, I sat in my truck outside the warehouse and thought about timing. Taryn was meeting Colt again tonight. She'd already texted me about another late coordination session. Perfect. I walked into the warehouse whistling. Chuck looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Boss, you seem different today. Good different, but different? Just feeling optimistic, Chuck. Sometimes life has a way of working things out. If you say so. Oh, and that accounting lady, Priya? She's been asking about you. I think she's got some gossip she's fating to share. Priya appeared as if summoned. Derrick, I was hoping to catch you. Did you know Maya Rayner works for Hartwell Commercial Real Estate? The office right across from the coffee shop on 5th Street? Can't say I did, Priya. Why would I know that? Oh, no reason. Just thought it was interesting. She seems like a nice lady, professional, the kind of person who'd appreciate knowing if someone was, taking advantage of her good nature. Priya's radar was better than I'd thought. That's very philosophical of you, Priya. I'm a philosophical person. I believe in karma. What goes around comes around, I couldn't agree more. Around lunchtime, I drove to 5th Street and parked across from Hartwell Commercial Real Estate. Maya Rayner was easy to spot through the office window. Auburn hair, sharp business suit, the kind of focused energy that suggested she didn't suffer fools gladly. I walked in like I owned the place. Excuse me, are you Maya Rayner? She looked up from her computer. Yes, can I help you? I hope so. My name is Derrick Mallon. I think we have some mutual acquaintances. Her expression didn't change, but something shifted behind her eyes. Such as? Well, your ex-husband Colt, for one, and my wife Taryn. They've been working together quite a bit lately. Lots of evening meetings. Very dedicated to their project. Now her expression did change. I see. And you felt the need to share this information with me because I believe in transparency. And I thought you might be interested to know that their dedication extends beyond normal business hours. Last night, for instance, they were at his apartment until nearly midnight. Very thorough, those logistics consultations. Maya leaned back in her chair and studied me like I was a property she was considering for purchase. Mr. Mallon, I've always found that when people come to me with information, they usually want something in return. What is it you want? Justice, and maybe a little help evening the playing field. What kind of help? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots I'd taken of Taryn's location data. The kind that ensures everyone has access to the same information. She looked at the screenshots, then at me. I never liked Colt's taste in women. But your wife? She seems to have excellent taste in husbands. It's a shame she doesn't appreciate what she has. It is a shame, but I'm working on correcting that oversight. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Carefully, methodically, and with maximum impact. Maya smiled for the first time since I'd walked in. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who'd just spotted wounded prey. Mr. Mallon, I think we're going to get along very well. That evening, I packed a bag and left a note for Taryn. Gone fishing for the weekend. Don't wait up. Love you. Then I drove to Lake Tahoe with a woman who appreciated my sense of humor and didn't think I was invisible. My phone started ringing around 9 o'clock. Taryn. I let it go to voicemail. Derrick, where are you? I came home and found your note. What do you mean you've gone fishing? We never go fishing. Call me back. The next call came an hour later. Derrick, this isn't funny. Where are you? I'm worried. Call me back right now. By the third call, her tone had changed. Derrick, I know you're getting these messages. Whatever this is about, we can talk about it. Just come home. Jenna and I were having dinner at a restaurant overlooking the lake when the fourth call came. I answered this time. Hello, Taryn. Jesus Christ, Derrick. Where the hell are you? I've been calling for hours. I'm at Lake Tahoe, having dinner with a friend. Lake Tahoe? But we were supposed to go together this weekend. Were we? I must have forgotten. I've been so distracted lately thinking about logistics. There was a long silence. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that logistics can be very consuming. All those late-night coordination sessions, very demanding work. Another silence. Derrick, what's going on? You're scaring me. I'm scaring you? That's interesting. I thought you were too busy with your project to be scared of anything. My project? What does my work have to do with anything? I don't know, Taryn. You tell me. I don't understand what you're talking about. Sure you don't. Listen, I have to go. My dinner companion is waiting, and it would be rude to keep her waiting. Unlike some people, I believe in courtesy. Her? Derrick, who are you with? A friend, someone who appreciates honesty. Novel concept, I know. I hung up and turned off my phone. Jenna was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. That sounded intense, she said. It's about to get more intense. Should I be worried about getting caught in the middle of something? Only if you're afraid of a little excitement. She raised her wine glass. Derrick, I haven't felt this alive in years. Bring on the excitement. We clinked glasses as the sun set over the lake, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Anticipation. Sunday evening, I drove home alone. Jenna had her own car, her own life, her own plans. But we'd made arrangements to see each other again. Soon. Taryn was waiting in the living room when I walked in, looking like she hadn't slept in 2 days, which, given the circumstances, she probably hadn't. Where have you been? She demanded. I told you, Lake Tahoe. With who? A friend. What friend? I know all your friends. Apparently you don't know me as well as you thought. She stood up, and I could see her hands shaking. Derrick, what is this about? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, Taryn. Everything's exactly as it should be. That's not an answer. Sure it is. It's just not the answer you want to hear. I walked past her toward the stairs, but she grabbed my arm. Don't walk away from me. We need to talk about this. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then at her face. Talk about what exactly? About whatever's going on with you, about why you disappeared for the weekend without telling me where you were going. I left a note. A note that said you were going fishing. You hate fishing. Maybe I'm developing new interests. People change, Taryn. Sometimes they discover they want things they never thought they wanted before. She stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. What things? Honesty, respect, a partner who doesn't think I'm too stupid to notice when I'm being lied to. The color drained from her face. Lied to? What are you talking about? I'm talking about logistics, Taryn. I'm talking about evening meetings and late-night coordination sessions. I'm talking about Colt Rayner and his apartment on Elm Street. She let go of my arm like it had caught fire. Derrick, save it. I'm tired, and I have work tomorrow. Unlike some people, I take my professional responsibilities seriously. I went upstairs and took a shower, leaving her standing in the living room with her mouth open and her world crashing down around her ears. Phase 1 was complete. The foundation was cracked. Now it was time to bring down the whole structure. Monday morning brought the kind of autumn clarity that makes everything look sharp-edged and unforgiving. Perfect weather for demolition work. I got to the warehouse early and found Maya Rayner waiting in the parking lot, leaning against a silver BMW with the casual confidence of someone who'd never doubted her own worth. She was holding 2 coffee cups and wearing a smile that suggested she'd slept very well indeed. Good morning, Derrick. I brought coffee. Consider it a thank you gift. Thank you for what? For the most entertaining weekend I've had in years. Did you know your wife called Colt 17 times between Friday night and Sunday morning? 17. He was so rattled he actually called me, asking if I knew what was going on. And what did you tell him? That I had no idea what he was talking about, which was technically true at the time. She handed me one of the coffees. But I did some research over the weekend, very enlightening research. Such as? Such as the fact that Pinnacle Logistics has a very strict policy about employees engaging in relationships with clients, especially married clients. The kind of policy that comes with immediate termination if violated. I sipped the coffee. It was good coffee, much better than the motor oil we usually drank at the warehouse. That is interesting. I thought you'd think so. I also thought you might be interested to know that Colt's been bragging to his gym buddies about his conquest. Apparently he's quite proud of himself for landing a married woman. Very manly of him. The coffee suddenly tasted bitter. He said that? According to my source at Gold's Gym, he's been giving them detailed reports on your wife's enthusiasm. Quite graphic, from what I understand. Something cold and sharp settled in my chest. It was one thing to know Taryn was cheating. It was another thing entirely to know she was being humiliated in the process. I see you're not as detached from this as you pretend to be, Maya observed. I'm plenty detached, but I don't like being made a fool of in public. Good, because I have a proposition for you. I'm listening. Colt works out at Gold's every day at lunch. Same routine, same time, same audience of meatheads who think his stories are hilarious. Today, I think they're going to get a different kind of entertainment. What kind of entertainment? Maya pulled out her phone and showed me a video file. The kind where the joke is on him. The video was security footage from Colt's apartment building. Grainy, but clear enough to show Taryn arriving Friday night and not leaving until Saturday morning. The timestamp was visible in the corner. How did you get this? I have friends in property management. Amazing what people will share when you explain the situation properly. And you plan to show this to his gym buddies? Better, I plan to show it to him in front of his gym buddies, while he's in the middle of one of his conquest stories. I stared at her. You're serious? Absolutely serious. The question is, are you in? Before I could answer, Chuck appeared at my elbow. Morning, boss. Who's your friend? Chuck, meet Maya. Maya, this is Chuck, my assistant supervisor. Maya extended her hand with a smile that could have powered the warehouse. Pleasure to meet you, Chuck. Derrick's told me so much about you. Chuck practically glowed. All good things, I hope. The very best. He says you're the most reliable person he knows. Well, I don't know about that, but I do my best. Chuck turned to me. Boss, that Priya lady is looking for you again. Says she's got some information you might find interesting. What kind of information? Something about your wife's company. Apparently there's been some talk about conflicts of interest, personnel issues, that sort of thing. Maya and I exchanged glances. Tell Priya I'll be right there, I said. Chuck headed back toward the building, and Maya touched my arm. 12:30 at Gold's Gym. If you're there, I'll know you're in. If not, I'll handle this my own way. And if I am there? Then we handle it together, and your wife's boyfriend learns what it feels like to be the punchline instead of the comedian. She got in her BMW and drove away, leaving me standing in the parking lot with a decision to make and a coffee that had gone cold. Priya was waiting in my office with a stack of papers and the kind of expression that suggested Christmas had come early. Derrick, you're going to want to sit down for this. That good, huh? Better. I've been doing some checking on this logistics project your wife's been working on. Very interesting project. Very interesting timeline. She spread the papers across my desk. Purchase orders, shipping manifests, coordination schedules. See, the thing is, this project she's been coordinating, it was completed 2 weeks ago. Shipped, delivered, invoiced, done. No more coordination required. I stared at the papers. You're sure about this? Positive. I called Pinnacle Logistics myself, pretending to be from accounting. Spoke to their project manager. Very nice man. Confirmed that all coordination activities were completed on October 15th. That was 2 weeks ago, Derrick. 2 weeks ago. Taryn had been having coordination meetings for 2 weeks after the project was finished. There's more, Priya continued. Seems there's been some talk at Pinnacle about one of their coordinators getting too friendly with a client. Management's not happy about it. They're planning to have a conversation with the employee in question. When? This afternoon, 2 o'clock meeting with HR. I leaned back in my chair and felt something that might have been satisfaction. Priya, you're a treasure. I'm a woman who believes in justice, and I don't like seeing good men get taken advantage of. She gathered up her papers. Oh, and Derrick? That Maya lady who was here this morning? I like her. She's got spine. Yeah, she does. Good. A man in your situation needs allies with spine. After Priya left, I sat in my office staring at the clock and thinking about choices. I could go to Gold's Gym and watch Maya humiliate Colt in front of his friends. I could stay here and pretend none of this was happening. I could go home and confront Taryn with what I knew, or I could do something else entirely. I picked up my phone and called Taryn's office. Hartwell Industries, this is Lexi. Lexi was Taryn's assistant and closest friend at work. Sweet girl, but with the backbone of overcooked pasta. Hi, Lexi. It's Derrick. Is Taryn available? Oh, hi, Derrick. She's in a meeting right now. Can I take a message? Actually, I was calling to surprise her. I wanted to take her to lunch today. Do you know when she'll be free? Well, she said she was having lunch with a client today. Some kind of follow-up meeting for that logistics project she's been working on. A follow-up meeting? I thought that project was finished. There was a pause. Well, I think there might be some additional coordination required. You know how these things are. Sure. What time is this meeting? 12:30, I think. At that new place downtown, Bruno's. Bruno's was 3 blocks from Gold's Gym. Thanks, Lexi. Don't mention I called, okay? I want it to be a surprise. Of course. She'll be so happy to see you. I hung up and checked my watch. 11:45. Just enough time to make a decision that would change everything. At 12:25, I was sitting in my truck across the street from Gold's gym, watching Maya walk through the front door with the confidence of a woman on a mission. At 12:28, I saw Taryn's car pull into the parking lot of Bruno's restaurant. At 12:30, I made my choice. I walked into Gold's gym like I belonged there, past the front desk and into the weight room where a group of muscled idiots were gathered around a bench press, listening to someone tell a story that was making them laugh. The someone was Colt Rayner, and he was in the middle of describing what he called the perfect setup, a married woman so desperate for attention she'd believe any excuse to meet him. The best part, he was saying, is that her husband is completely clueless. Guy's a warehouse supervisor, for Christ's sake. Probably thinks logistics coordination is a real thing. The group laughed, and I felt something cold and sharp crystallize in my chest. So she shows up Friday night, Colt continued, and I'm thinking, this is too easy. Married chicks are always the hungriest, you know? All that pent-up frustration from being stuck with some boring loser who doesn't appreciate what he's got. That's when Maya appeared beside him with her phone in her hand. Excuse me, Colt. I hate to interrupt, but I thought you and your friends might be interested in some visual aids to go with your story. Colt turned around and went white. Maya, what are you doing here? Research. I've been doing a lot of research lately. About logistics coordination, for instance. She held up her phone so the whole group could see the screen. Fascinating subject. Very educational. The security footage started playing, and the laughter faded. Colt's face went from white to red to purple. Maya, you can't what? Share information? I thought you liked sharing information. You've certainly been sharing plenty of it with your friends here. One of the gym rats stepped forward. Hey, isn't that the married chick you were talking about? The one whose husband doesn't know what's going on? Another one added. Maya smiled. Oh, but that's where Colt made a mistake. The husband does know what's going on. In fact, he's right here. That's when I stepped out from behind the weight rack. Hello, Colt. The silence that followed was beautiful. Pure, crystalline silence that stretched like a held breath. Colt stared at me like I was a ghost. Derrick, what? How did you... Logistics, I said. Turns out I'm better at coordination than you thought. Look, man, I can explain. No need. Your explanation was very thorough, very detailed. I especially liked the part about me being a clueless loser who doesn't appreciate what he's got. The gym rats were looking back and forth between us like they were watching a tennis match. One of them had his phone out, recording. The thing is, Colt, you're right about one thing. I didn't appreciate what I had. I had a wife who was willing to throw away 15 years of marriage for a few hours with a washed-up quarterback who peaked in high school, and I had the opportunity to learn exactly what kind of person she really is. Colt tried to step forward, but Maya moved to block him. I wouldn't, she said quietly. Derrick's been very patient so far, but patience has limits. This is between me and him? Colt said. No, I said. This is between you and your reputation, which, as of right now, is completely messed. I pulled out my own phone and showed him the screen. Social media posts already going viral, screenshots of text messages, photos of him and Taryn entering his apartment building. See, the thing about logistics is that it's all about information management, making sure the right information gets to the right people at the right time, and right now, the right people are your boss, your coworkers, your neighbors, and anyone else who might be interested in knowing what kind of man you really are. Colt's face crumpled. You can't do this. This is harassment. No, this is consequences. Harassment is what you did to my marriage. This is just coordination. Maya stepped beside me. Gentlemen, I think we're done here. Colt, you might want to check your messages. I believe your boss has been trying to reach you. We walked out of the gym together, leaving Colt standing in the middle of his former audience with his mouth hanging open and his world falling apart. In the parking lot, Maya turned to me with something that might have been respect. How does it feel? She asked. Like I've been holding my breath for months and finally remembered how to exhale. Good, because this is just the beginning. She was right. By the time I got back to the warehouse, my phone was buzzing with messages. Priya met me at the door with a grin that could have lit up the building. Derrick, you need to see this. Your wife's been trying to call you for the past hour. Apparently there's been some kind of emergency at her office. What kind of emergency? The kind where HR wants to have a conversation about professional conduct and conflicts of interest. Seems someone sent them some very interesting information about her relationship with a client. Someone? Someone who believes in accountability. I looked at my phone. 17 missed calls from Taryn. 12 text messages, each one more frantic than the last. The final text was just 2 words. Call me. I deleted all the messages without reading them and put my phone away. Priya, what time do you get off work today? 5 o'clock? Why? I think we should celebrate. You, me, Chuck, and anyone else who wants to join us. Drinks on me. What are we celebrating? New beginnings, and the end of taking shit from people who think we're too stupid to know when we're being played. Priya's grin got even wider. Now that's a celebration I can get behind. As I walked back to my office, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, the satisfaction of a job well done. Phase 2 was complete. The walls were cracking. Now it was time to bring down the roof. The beautiful thing about nuclear fallout is that it spreads in all directions. By Tuesday morning, the shockwaves from Monday's detonation had reached every corner of our small world. Taryn had called in sick to work, the first sick day she'd taken in 3 years. Colt Rayner was reportedly cleaning out his desk at Pinnacle Logistics under the watchful eye of security. And I was sitting in my office, drinking decent coffee and watching my wife's carefully constructed life collapse like a house of cards in a hurricane. Chuck knocked on my door frame. "Boss, you've got a visitor." Taryn walked in looking like she'd been hit by a truck. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes, and her hands were shaking as she clutched a coffee cup like it was a life preserver. "Derrick, we need to talk." "I'm at work, Taryn. Make an appointment." "Don't be like this. Please, just give me 5 minutes." I gestured to the chair across from my desk. She sat down carefully, like she was afraid sudden movements might shatter what was left of her world. "I know you're angry." "Angry?" I leaned back in my chair. "Taryn, angry is what you feel when someone cuts you off in traffic. This isn't anger. This is clarity." "Clarity about what?" "About who you really are. About what our marriage really means to you. About how little respect you have for me." Her eyes filled with tears. "That's not true. I love you." "No, you love the idea of me. You love having a reliable husband who pays the bills and fixes things and doesn't ask inconvenient questions. But you don't love me enough to be faithful. You don't respect me enough to be honest. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. It got complicated. Complicated. I tasted the word like it was poison. "Is that what you call sleeping with your ex-boyfriend in his apartment while I'm home thinking you're working late?" She flinched like I'd slapped her. "Don't be crude." "Crude?" "Taryn, I'm just calling it what it is. You want to talk about crude? Let's talk about Colt bragging to his gym buddies about your enthusiasm. Let's talk about him describing you as desperate and hungry. Let's talk about him calling me a clueless loser while he's screwing my wife." The tears started flowing freely now. "He said that?" "He said a lot of things. Very detailed things. Very specific things. Would you like me to share them with you?" "No." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I didn't think so." I stood up and walked to the window. "Here's what's going to happen, Taryn. You're going to go home and pack your things. You're going to find somewhere else to stay while we figure out how to untangle 15 years of marriage. And you're going to stop calling me, texting me, and showing up at my workplace." "Derrick, please. Can't we work this out? Can't we go to counseling or something?" I turned around and looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw the desperation, the fear, the sudden realization that actions have consequences. "Counseling is for people who want to save their marriage. You threw our marriage away the first time you spread your legs for Colt Rayner. Everything that's happened since then is just cleanup." She stood up abruptly, knocking over her coffee cup. The liquid spread across my desk, soaking into papers and dripping onto the floor. "You bastard! You self-righteous bastard! You think you're so perfect. You think you never did anything wrong in our marriage." "I think I never cheated on you. I think I never lied to you. I think I never humiliated you in public or made you look like a fool in front of people who knew us both. So that's it? 15 years, and you're just going to throw it all away?" "I'm not throwing anything away, Taryn. You already did that. I'm just acknowledging reality." She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see something changing in her expression. The tears stopped. The desperation hardened into something colder. "Fine. If that's how you want to play this, we'll play it your way. But don't think this is over. Don't think you can just humiliate me and walk away without consequences." "Consequences?" I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "Taryn, you haven't seen consequences yet." She stormed out, leaving my office smelling like spilled coffee and burned bridges. Chuck appeared in the doorway again. "Everything okay, boss?" "Everything's perfect, Chuck. Absolutely perfect." That afternoon, I got a call from Maya. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "Better than expected. Taryn paid me a visit this morning. Very enlightening conversation." "I bet. Listen, I thought you should know. Colt's not taking his termination well. He's been making some noise about fighting back. talking about lawsuits and harassment charges. Let him talk. He's got no case. Maybe not legally, but desperate people do stupid things. I think you should be careful. I appreciate the concern, but I can handle Colt Rayner. I'm sure you can, but you don't have to handle him alone. There was something in her tone that made me pay attention. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that Colt has always been his own worst enemy. He just needs the right encouragement to prove it. What kind of encouragement? The kind that involves his restored Camaro and a very public parking lot. I was quiet for a moment, thinking. That sounds like it could get messy. Messy can be good. Messy gets attention, and attention is exactly what Colt's been trying to avoid since yesterday. When and where? Tonight, 7 o'clock, the parking lot behind Murphy's bar. That's where he goes to drink away his sorrows and complain about how unfair life is. How do you know that? I have my sources. The question is, are you interested in sending a message? I thought about Colt's smug face in the gym, about his detailed descriptions of my wife's desperation, about 15 years of marriage reduced to locker room bragging rights. What kind of message? The kind that says actions have consequences, and some consequences are very, very public. At 6:45, I was sitting in my truck across the street from Murphy's bar, watching Colt's restored 1987 Camaro gleaming under the parking lot lights. It was a beautiful car, cherry red with black racing stripes, chrome details that caught the light like jewelry, the kind of car a man loves more than his wife. Maya appeared beside my truck window like a ghost. Ready? She asked. What exactly are we doing here, Maya? We're giving Colt an opportunity to show his true colors, and we're making sure that opportunity is well documented. She held up her phone. Social media is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Especially when someone's already in the public eye for all the wrong reasons. And if he doesn't take the bait? Oh, he'll take it. Men like Colt always take the bait. Their egos won't let them do anything else. At 7:15, Colt stumbled out of Murphy's bar with the careful precision of a man who'd been drinking just enough to make bad decisions seem reasonable. He was halfway to his car when he saw what Maya had done to it. Someone, and I had a pretty good idea who, had decorated his precious Camaro with washable paint markers. The messages were creative, detailed, and absolutely devastating. Cheater, homewrecker, fired for banging married women. Ask me about my professional ethics. But the masterpiece was on the windshield. Honk if you've heard me brag about other men's wives. Colt's roar of rage could probably be heard 3 blocks away. What the hell? He spun around, looking for someone to blame, someone to hit. That's when he saw me leaning against my truck, arms crossed, watching the show. You snake, you did this. Did what, Colt? I've been standing here the whole time. You vandalized my car. That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof? He charged toward me, fists clenched, face purple with rage and alcohol. I don't need proof, you piece of shit. I know it was you. Actually, you do need proof. That's how accusations work. But I understand you might be confused about concepts like evidence and truth. You've been pretty flexible with both lately. He took a swing at me, a wild, drunken haymaker that telegraphed itself from 3 counties away. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him into the side of my truck. Careful, Colt. Assault charges are serious business, especially for someone who's already unemployed. By now, a crowd had gathered, people coming out of Murphy's bar, drawn by the shouting and the spectacle of a grown man having a meltdown in a parking lot. Several of them had their phones out, recording. Maya materialized beside me. Is there a problem here? No problem, I said. Colt was just admiring the artwork on his car. Very expressive, don't you think? Colt looked back and forth between us, and I could see the moment when what was left of his rational mind reasserted itself. He was outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and being recorded by a dozen strangers. Anything he did now would only make things worse. This isn't over, he said, pointing a shaking finger at me. You're right, I replied. It's not over. It's just getting started. He got in his decorated car and peeled out of the parking lot, leaving rubber on the asphalt and his dignity scattered like confetti. Maya turned to me with a satisfied smile. Phase 3 complete. How many phases are there? As many as it takes. The next morning, I woke up to find 17 text messages from Taryn and a voicemail from her lawyer. The texts were a mixture of rage, desperation, and threats. The lawyer was more professional, but equally pointless. I deleted everything and went to work. Chuck met me at the door with a newspaper and a grin that could have powered the building. Boss, you need to see this. The local paper's online edition had picked up the story. Local man's public meltdown goes viral was the headline, accompanied by photos and video from the Murphy's bar incident. The article was brutal in its matter-of-fact reporting. Colt's employment termination, the circumstances surrounding it, his public confrontation with the husband of the woman involved in the workplace scandal. Everything laid out in black and white for the entire town to read. "This is better than cable," Chuck said. "What happens next?" "Next, we go back to work and let the consequences take care of themselves." But I was wrong about that. The consequences weren't finished with any of us yet, not by a long shot. Wednesday brought rain and a phone call that changed everything. I was in my office, reviewing shipping manifests and pretending to care about inventory levels, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Derrick Mallon. "Mr. Mallon, this is Detective Sarah Chen with the city police. I need to speak with you about an incident that occurred last night." "What kind of incident?" "The kind that involves property damage, harassment complaints, and some very serious allegations. Can you come down to the station this afternoon?" "Am I being charged with something?" "Not at this time, but I think it would be in your best interest to have this conversation sooner rather than later." Now, after I hung up, I sat staring at the phone and feeling the first real flicker of doubt since this whole thing started. Had I pushed too hard, gone too far, let my need for revenge override my common sense? Chuck appeared in my doorway. "Boss, you look like someone just told you Christmas was canceled." "Chuck, if something happens to me, if I get arrested or fired or whatever, I want you to know that you're the best assistant supervisor I've ever worked with." "What the hell are you talking about? What's going on?" Before I could answer, Priya burst into my office without knocking, her face flushed with excitement. "Derrick, you need to hear this. I just got off the phone with my cousin who works dispatch. Colt Rayner was arrested last night for drunk and disorderly conduct, public intoxication, and attempted breaking and entering." "Breaking and entering where?" "Your house. Apparently he showed up around midnight, completely wasted, trying to kick down your front door. The neighbors called it in." I stared at her. "I wasn't home last night." "I know. You were at that hotel on 5th Street, right? Smart move, staying away from the house. Anyway, the police found him passed out on your front porch around 2 a.m., covered in his own vomit and clutching a tire iron." Chuck whistled low. "That's not good for him." "It gets better," Priya continued. "When they arrested him, he started ranting about how you'd ruined his life and he was going to make you pay. Very specific threats, according to my cousin, the kind that look really bad in police reports." "So why does Detective Chen want to see me?" "Probably to get your side of the story, and to discuss getting a restraining order. Colt's lawyer is trying to claim this is all part of some harassment campaign you've been running against him." I thought about the decorated Camaro, the gym confrontation, the social media posts. From a certain angle, it might look like harassment. From the right angle, with the right lawyer, it might even stick. "Priya, I need you to do me a favor. Anything. Call Maya Rayner. Tell her what happened. Tell her I might need a good lawyer." "Already done. She's meeting you at the police station at 2 o'clock. "How did you—" "Because I'm good at my job, and my job is making sure you don't do anything stupid." She paused. "Well, anything else stupid." At 1:55, I was sitting in the parking lot of the police station, watching Maya walk toward my truck in a sharp gray suit that probably cost more than I made in a month. She looked like someone who ate lawyers for breakfast and washed them down with the tears of her enemies. "How bad is this?" I asked as she got in the passenger seat. "Not as bad as it could be, but not as good as we'd like. Colt's lawyer is a bottom feeder named Jerry Klein who specializes in turning victims into perpetrators. He's going to try to paint you as a vindictive husband who orchestrated a campaign of harassment against his client. And you think that'll work? I think Jerry Klein is about to learn why I have a 97% success rate in civil litigation." Detective Chen was younger than I'd expected, with sharp eyes and the kind of no-nonsense attitude that suggested she'd seen every variety of human stupidity and wasn't impressed by any of it. "Mr. Mallon, thank you for coming in. I understand you've been having some issues with Colt Rayner." "You could say that?" "Why don't you walk me through your relationship with Mr. Rayner, starting from the beginning?" I told her everything. The affair, the discovery, the confrontation at the gym, the parking lot incident. Maya occasionally interjected with legal clarifications, but mostly she just sat there looking like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. When I finished, Detective Chen leaned back in her chair. "That's quite a story, Mr. Mallon. Very detailed, very comprehensive." "It's the truth." "I'm sure it is. The question is whether your response was proportionate to the offense." "What would you have done, Detective? If you came home and found out your spouse was cheating, would you just ignore it, pretend it wasn't happening?" "I would have filed for divorce and moved on with my life. I wouldn't have orchestrated a public humiliation campaign." Maya leaned forward. Detective, my client has broken no laws. Everything he's described, the social media posts, the gym confrontation, even the incident in the parking lot, falls well within the bounds of legal behavior. Mr. Rayner, on the other hand, has committed multiple crimes, including attempted breaking and entering, public intoxication, and making terroristic threats. That's true, but context matters. If Mr. Mallon's actions were designed to provoke Mr. Rayner into doing something illegal, then Mr. Rayner should have shown better judgment. My client is not responsible for another man's criminal behavior. Detective Chen studied us both for a moment. Mr. Mallon, I'm going to give you some advice. Whatever satisfaction you've gotten from your revenge campaign, it's time to stop. Mr. Rayner is clearly unstable, and unstable people do unpredictable things. For your own safety, and for the safety of everyone involved, I suggest you take a step back. What about the restraining order? We're processing it now. Mr. Rayner is not to come within 500 feet of you, your home, or your workplace. If he violates that order, he goes directly to jail. Outside the police station, Maya and I stood in the parking lot while she lit a cigarette with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd been managing stress with nicotine for years. Well, that went better than expected, she said. Did it? Because I feel like I just got lectured by my high school principal. Chen's a good cop. She's trying to keep you from doing something that'll get you arrested or eliminated. You should listen to her. So that's it? We just stop? Let Colt off the hook? Maya took a long drag and blew smoke into the gray afternoon air. Derrick, Colt Rayner is finished. He's unemployed, facing criminal charges, and about to be served with divorce papers that'll leave him with nothing but debt and regret. His reputation is destroyed, his future is messed, and everyone he knows thinks he's a pathetic loser who can't handle his liquor. But nothing. You won. The war is over. Time to go home and enjoy the victory. She was right, of course. But as I drove home that evening, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still unfinished. Some final confrontation that hadn't happened yet. I got my answer at 11:30 that night. I was staying at the Marriott on 5th Street, had been since Sunday, partly for safety, and partly because I couldn't stand the thought of sleeping in the bed Taryn had shared with me after sleeping with Colt Rayner. I was watching the late news and thinking about calling Jenna when my phone rang. Taryn. Derrick, thank God. You have to help me. Help you with what? Colt's here. He's drunk and he's angry and he's scaring me. He keeps saying it's all your fault, that you destroyed his life, and now he's going to destroy mine. I could hear shouting in the background, the sound of something breaking. Where are you? At the house. Our house. I came back to get some clothes, and he was waiting for me. Derrick, I think he's going to hurt me. Call the police. I did. They said they'd send someone, but it could be 20 minutes. I don't have 20 minutes. More shouting, a crash that sounded like a lamp hitting the wall. Please, Derrick. I know I don't deserve it, but please, I'm scared. I closed my eyes and felt 15 years of marriage warring with 3 days of betrayal. Stay on the line. I'm coming. Thank you. Oh God, thank you. I hung up and called Maya. This better be good, she said. I was asleep. Colt's at my house with Taryn. He's drunk and making threats. I'm going over there. The hell you are. That's exactly what he wants. Call the police. She already did. They're 20 minutes out. Then she can wait 20 minutes. Derrick, this is a trap. Can't you see that? He wants you to come charging in like some white knight so he can claim self-defense when he beats the shit out of you. Maybe, but I can't just sit here while he terrorizes my wife. Your cheating wife. Your lying, cheating wife who threw away your marriage for a few hours with that piece of shit. She's still my wife. There was a long pause. Fine. But you're not going alone. Give me 10 minutes. Maya. 10 minutes, Derrick, and bring your phone. We're going to record everything. The house looked normal from the outside. Porch light on, cars in the driveway, no sign of the domestic drama playing out inside. But as I got closer, I could hear the shouting. Maya pulled up behind me in her BMW, and we approached the front door together. Remember, she whispered, we're here to document his behavior and ensure Taryn's safety. We are not here to be heroes. I nodded and tried the door. Unlocked. The living room looked like a tornado had hit it. Furniture overturned, books scattered across the floor, a broken lamp in the corner. Colt was standing in the middle of the chaos, swaying slightly, holding a bottle of my bourbon in one hand and gesturing wildly with the other. Taryn was pressed against the far wall, her face streaked with tears and mascara. Your fault, Colt was saying. All of it. I had a good job, a good life, and then your bastard husband had to go and ruin everything. Colt, please, just leave. Derrick will be here soon, and... Good! I want him here. I want to look that snake in the eye when I tell him what I really think of him. That's when I stepped into the room. No need to wait, Colt. I'm here now. He spun around, nearly losing his balance, and I could see the rage and alcohol warring in his red eyes. You! Look what you've done. Look what you've done to my life. I didn't do anything to your life, Colt. You did that all by yourself. Bullshit. You orchestrated this whole thing. You and that snake ex-wife of mine. Maya stepped into view, her phone held high, recording everything. Hello, Colt. How's unemployment treating you? His face went purple. You started this. You ruined everything. No, Colt. You ruined everything when you decided to have an affair with a married woman and then brag about it to your gym buddies. We just made sure everyone knew what kind of man you really are. He took a step toward her, raising the bourbon bottle like a weapon. That's when I moved. I didn't hit him. I didn't have to. I just stepped between him and Maya, close enough that he could smell the coffee on my breath, and spoke in the kind of quiet voice that cuts through rage like a blade through silk. Put the bottle down, Colt. Screw you. Put it down, or I'll take it away from you, and if I have to take it away from you, this gets a lot worse for everyone involved. He stared at me for a long moment, and I could see him calculating odds, measuring distances, trying to figure out if he could take me in a fight. What he saw in my eyes must have convinced him otherwise, because he slowly lowered the bottle. That's better. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk out that door, get in your car, and drive away. You're not going to contact Taryn again. You're not going to contact me again. You're going to disappear from our lives like the bad dream you've always been. And if I don't, then you'll find out what real harassment looks like. And trust me, Colt, what we've done so far is nothing compared to what I can do if you push me. He looked around the room, at Maya still recording, at Taryn cowering against the wall, at the destruction he'd caused, and something in his face crumpled. This isn't over, he said, but the fight had gone out of his voice. Yes, it is. It's been over since the moment you decided to sleep with my wife. Everything since then has just been cleanup. He stumbled toward the door, pausing only to look back at Taryn. You were never worth it, he said. Neither of you were worth it. After he left, the three of us stood in the wreckage of my living room, listening to his car drive away and feeling the weight of everything that had happened. Well, Maya said, finally putting away her phone. That was dramatic. Taryn slumped against the wall, sliding down until she was sitting on the floor. Thank you, she whispered. Both of you. Thank you for coming. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something that might have been pity. She looked small and broken and utterly defeated. Taryn, you can't stay here tonight. It's not safe. I know. I'll go to my sister's. Good. Pack what you need. Maya and I will wait until you're gone. Then I'll call the police and report the break-in. She nodded and headed upstairs. Maya and I stood in the ruins of my marriage, not talking, just breathing. It's really over now, isn't it? I said. Yes, it's over. How do you feel about that? Honestly, relieved. This could have gone much worse. She was right. It could have gone much worse. But as I looked around at the destruction Colt had caused, I realized something. This wasn't the end I'd been expecting. There was no satisfaction in it, no sense of victory. Just exhaustion and the hollow feeling that comes after the adrenaline fades. Taryn came back downstairs with a suitcase and her purse. She paused at the door and looked back at me. Derrick, I know you'll probably never forgive me, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. For all of it. For the lying, the cheating, the way it ended. You deserved better. Yeah, I said. I did. After she left, Maya and I called the police and gave our statements. They took the video evidence, documented the property damage, and assured us that Colt would be arrested as soon as they found him. What happens now? I asked Maya as we stood on my front porch, watching the police cars drive away. Now you clean up the mess, file for divorce, and get on with your life. And Colt? Colt's going to prison. Probably not for long, but long enough to think about the choices that brought him there. She started toward her car, then turned back. Derrick, you did the right thing tonight. Coming here, protecting Taryn even after everything she did to you, that takes character. Does it? Or does it just make me a sucker? It makes you a decent man. Don't let what happened change that. After she left, I stood alone in my driveway, looking at the house I'd shared with Taryn for 15 years. Tomorrow, I'd start the process of putting my life back together. I'd file for divorce, repair the damage, maybe even call Jenna and see if she wanted to have that dinner we'd talked about. But tonight, I was just going to stand here and feel the weight of everything that had ended and everything that was about to begin. The war was over. I'd won.